Manifestation Day to all of you. Welcome to Lead with Intentions, where I, ex mom, every single week goes live with you and speaks to you about what's most important to all of us, which is our families and our loved ones. And we dive in, lead with intentions, and we bring on individuals who are really living intentional lives to be their best self. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ambereen Hameed. Welcome to Spanglish Network and Zingo TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app on the respective app stores, whether that be iOS or Android. While you're downloading the app, please make sure you are doing what matters to all of us, which is rating us, giving us reviews, and commenting on things that we can improve to better your experience. As always, this app is completely free. It is available on the Roku devices alongside with all the Amazon products. Also, we're supported on the Google Chromecast and any TV that's 2016 on forward. And so, as you're doing that, please make sure that you are going to let us know what we can do to serve you a little bit more. Welcome to our guest, who is somebody who is a native to this channel, somebody who many of you may already know, who talks about living your best life. Chuck Hogan is on the show today to talk about his marriage to his remarkable wife and his soulmate, who he calls Julie. They've been together for about 32 years, and they've got three amazing kids, information I did not know. And I still don't know if, we want to know about the boys to the girls ratio, the age range, what's going on and happening in their life. But most importantly, Chuck's finds so much drive and inspiration and motivation through his family, through his kids, who are constant, observers of life lessons. So that way they all learn to think better, live more abundantly into their goodness, and learn from one another. I think as well too. I don't know Chuck a lot, but I did have the privilege to being on a few alone times with him as I started to realize that he's somebody that could totally be my mentor for the things that he's already done. And so he is inspiring catalyst ideas in my mind already, which is why today I introduced myself as ex-mom, not Coach Ambereen, a little shift into who I actually want to become into my future self. So welcome, Chuck. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. It is so wonderful to see you, and thank you so much for having me on. As you'd mentioned, Ambereen, just in a few conversations, I feel like I've known you for decades already. And so thank you for always being so transparent and leading with your heart and having such an open soul and open mind. It really is a beautiful testament to who you are and how you lead and how you consult and bring love, joy, and happiness to all those around you. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, well, as we do, we appreciate our guests here more. So tell us something about you. Who are you, and what is it that you do for work?
Well, several things. First of all, foremost, I'm a very devoted and blessed husband for 36 years to my amazing wife. She has been my rock, my counterpart, my foil in life through all the amazing times and all the challenging times. Um, I'm the father of three tweens. So we have a son who's 23, recent college grad. Um, we have a 20-year-old who's a sophomore in college, go UNT, engineering major. And then we have a junior in high school, 17-year-old. So a boy and two girls. And I will tell you, wow, talk about a humbling experience becoming a father and then the layers of relationship just between the changes of gender. Um, all this while engaged in being involved in 36 years in the commercial textile industry. I'm a neurostrategist. We have our own environment called Your Best Life, which is all about living life on your terms, your level, in faith, family, fitness, and finance. So when I say life is beautiful and busy, I'm not joking. It's been amazing.
Well, we love hearing it when people make decisions and they find that there's more joy and love in life, because what else is it, to come into this world and not really truly live, right? So when you're thinking
Absolutely.
about intentional living, um, what is it that you do to lead an intentional life?
I really slow down for a moment and get out of my head. There are so many things that in life, oftentimes, people are working busy, right? It's like, in fact, we'll even ask folks how they're doing. And in truth, what we're really more interested in is how they're being. So why is that such an important facet? I said, well, for myself, I had to be my first student and my own mentor. And that was,
Mhm.
as my one of my mentors, Keith Cunningham, would say, you need to eat your own cooking. And so that started with Umbrain, me asking myself, how do I need to feel most often? So through that filter of the day, I can actually turn my attention and focus to the things that matter most in life, that are going to fuel me, feed me, fulfill me. And in doing so, it creates so much more depth with everyone around me as well.
So how have you noticed that there's a deeper relationship, as you're evolving into your best self?
Great question. And it's not just because you can measure the KPIs or the key performance indicators as we would in business. It's
Mm-hmm.
more so that we actually feel great about how we're engaging. So it's often misunderstood, and people will go, oh, well, if I was just making more money. I said, okay, great. If you're making more money, would that make you happier? Because here's the truth, money solves money problems, it does not solve love problems. Your heart and
Mm-hmm.
integrity and your happiness will result in elevating all aspects of your life. So, really, what it comes down to at the end of the day is, how do you need to feel most often? And are you serving yourself by actually living in that grace, in that space, to allow yourself to elevate?
Yeah, so as a certified high performance coach, we often talk about this concept of what's the next right action of integrity. And asking ourselves those questions only bring more and more clarity into who we want to become. So,
Definitely. And I would remind people as well, is it really about doing better, or is it just about having opportunities that are different? And here's the why I stipulate it that way. There's a presupposition that if we're doing better, that we're not doing good enough right now. And if we're constantly living in a state where it's about progression and growth, that's beautiful, and yet it's also self-condemning, because all that means is that you're never satisfied, and you may not be living in a level of appreciation as to who you are today.
hmm
So I would say, give grace for the moment, pray for potential and opportunity, and live in the now so that you can have appreciation and build the stepping stones of a foundation that will move you further, farther, and faster.
and that's what it is. I think a lot of us don't know that there's stairs to climb, right? And a few
Oh,
of us choose that route. And when you do, you realize you're taking a journey alone. You don't feel lonely, but you do take that journey alone. And the growth is just something you didn't even imagine. And that's right now in the moment saying, I deserve it, and I know where I have it because I'm
yes,
working so hard for it, right? Because it's very, like, for me, intentional living or living on purpose. And when you
absolutely.
start to practice that, you realize that there's no limit. So have you really been able to figure out what your purpose is, or been able to name your purpose?
I have actually, and it's going to sound a little corny, and that's great because that's a little bit of who I am as well. So my intuition tells me that I was put on this planet to help other people, to help provide insight and guidance through the PhD I have in failures, and lessons and learnings, to be able to help support others in collaborating to live their best life. So, what might that look like? Well, what if I were to say, Ambereen, you and I are going to go on this amazing adventure together, and we're going to just go ahead and we're going to climb this mountain. And to get to the mountain, we need to hike in an hour and a half. And then when we get to the mountain, we're going to set up our gear, we're going to climb the mountain. And then once we climb the mountain, we're going to rappel down the back, and then we have to hike out the hour and a half again. Now, you might go, let's do it. That sounds amazing. You go, great, let's go on this adventure together. Now I'm going to put in a stipulation. Because in life, in the past, for me, I felt the only way I was going to get there is if I ran the fastest and got there first. And here's what I found out. When you run through the forest, you get to the mountain, you climb the mountain, you rappel down the back, and you run out. And I asked you, how was the view? And we never took a moment to slow down and enjoy any of it. So getting clear as to what your outcome is even as more important as the amount of energy and intention with which you're going in and actually tackling something. We
Yeah,
can
like
all
what
go
we talk
different
about
ways.
often is this concept of taqwa, right? So that's the company that I have, Tawakal Coaching, and Tawakal Coaching is having this faith, this belief in something greater than, right? And this greater than religiously is for the creator, right? The it, whatever you may call it, Allah, God. Doesn't really matter what you want to call it, but this whole concept of something greater than. And so I truly believe that I believe in your own greatness, the one that you
Yes.
haven't tapped into, the potential that I see that you can't even imagine, if you are committed to yourself, even for like a 3 month journey. And so I think as purpose evolves, we start to really zoom in on it. I have a name for my purpose. It's Bazaar. It's a name that I came up with. I know that my purpose in life is my energy. Like that's why God put me on this earth. My energy has a name. It's called Umbergy. So it's like Umbreen's energy. And it could be a jolt of light or it could be a tranquiling mother to be like, all right, what's going on? Right. So I love it. It has all facets of me in it. And this last month, what I realized is I was kind of holding it in, and
Mm.
so the best of me wasn't coming out. So today is kind of one of those days where I've done the work. Actually went outside and ran in the cold. I think it maybe feels like negative, like 28 degrees or so here. And so I was like, no, I have to just to be here fully present with you because there was a lot going on. So thanks once again for being here, Chuck. We talked a little bit about, living your best life on adventure. How do people get in touch with you who actually want to explore more, with your business?
Oh, it'd be beautiful. Again, it's all about community, Brayden, and we know this. We know that in order for us to grow, there's a level of connection that we're looking for energetically with other people. And so we decided instead of waiting for someone else to build it, we would build it ourselves and invite beautiful souls. So you can go and check out all the adventures and really what the curriculum is like by just simply going to yblnow.com. So yblnow.com. Um, you'll see the strategists, you'll see the adventure trips in faith, family, fitness, and finance. You will see about the strategist services, and more so, it's about a lifestyle that you commit to for yourself. See, oftentimes, and this is my own hallucination, we'll go to an event to try and experience taking on or learning some new skills. And yet, I get concerned for some folks because I ask the question, are you really growing? Are you really exercising and utilizing what you need? And so I just invite you to, and in fact, I would say it another way. If you are not strategizing with someone, if you're not leveling up with someone, if you're not identifying where you're living now, you need to contact this amazing woman and go through it. No, seriously, go through a session. And because at some point in time, you can't see your own blind spots. And so I appreciate you edifying us and giving us that space and grace. I'm also going to say, you have this amazing, beautiful, awakened soul in front of you who has so many skills and talents. If you're struggling with finding where you're at and you're actually looking to become a better parent, a better mentor, a better model, or a better human being, appreciate who you are now so you can actually live at that higher level. And Umbreen is the person for you.
Well, that's a lot of compliments and a lot of appreciation there. But the intention here is to showcase you, Chuck, right? Not ex mom. So let's dive in. I actually want to get personal now.
Please.
So yeah, we will you share something with us, all of us. By us, I mean myself and the amazing folks who are watching and who I'm grateful for being here every single week. As you come here to grow, to learn, to listen, and find out how to live more intentional lives. So share with us something that's personal, which you think can
Mm.
impact the individuals here who are listening who want to live more intentional lives.
Wow. So I don't speak about this a lot, and I have a philosophy, and that is you are not your history. You are who you decide to be today. So in 2009, I was kind of hit with a very abrupt amount of language that you normally aren't looking for. So if you love surprises, you're going to love this little share that I have right now. And I will remind people that you like the surprises you like to get, not the ones that you weren't expecting. And they go, "Oh, I like unexpected surprises." I said, when they're positive, yes. When they leave you with a lot of introspection and thought to think about, it could be a very daunting situation. So in '09, after a routine checkup, I was diagnosed with cancer. Now, when someone gives that to you out of the blue, it's a little daunting. In fact, I would say a whole myriad of emotions and feelings and thoughts run through your body. And this is where I really had to trust faith, a higher power, something much bigger than me. And I realized this one thing: I am not the prognosis of what a doctor tells me I am. And in fact, he's giving me recommendations, but he's not giving me a sentence. He's actually giving me an opinion. And in fact, that's what they call it. So when we start to take things in the affirmative, and I said, okay, his opinion is to take this course of action. After a lot of introspection, we started to realize that part of this was we can go ahead and do part of the curriculum, but we don't need to do all the curriculum. Here's what's been great. I am living in a space now where, after from 2009 to now, completely cancer free, has not been more than a dot in my life. And that's why I say I don't manifest on it, because where focus goes, energy flows. I look at it as it was an experience in my timeline, and it was a big one. If I look at all the other little things, this was a big one, and it went over a protracted period of time. It did require energy. It did require awareness. What it did not require was victimhood. What it did not
Mhm.
require was being a pacifist. I was an active participant in my own salvation. So what I would love to share with everyone else is, you are not someone else's opinion. You are who you believe to be. So anything that you say after "I am" is who you become. Because I could have said I'm a cancer survivor. I don't play that game. I'm a cancer conqueror. There's a difference.
Hmm.
And so we get to decide our own moniker. We get to decide our own title. If that's ex-mom, mentor strategist. Because at the end of the day, people go, "Oh, it's all coaching." And I go, "You may think so, but that's the same as saying, oh, someone that takes walks is an Ironman marathoner." I go, "That's not the truth. There's different levels of exertion, expertise, and commitment. And this is the biggest thing. It only becomes reality for you when you commit to something. What is it that you're going to commit to today that will move you towards how you need to feel most often?"
That's what it is, I think, for you just to even say that, and just the timing of, of your highness, the majestic. I actually had a very big shift just this week. So there was a lot to let go of. And I realized that I no longer say I am Tawakal, right? I don't say, that I am intentional. I am ex mom. What I had a realization is that for me, what I needed to do is change it up a little bit and customize it. So
Mm-hmm.
now I say I feel freedom, I feel
Yes.
abundance, I feel joy, I feel compassion, and all these things just this week alone has been a game changer, because when I say I feel, I have to pause and be in the now, in the present.
Yes.
And I think that's what we're
Yes.
all talking about, is embracing the journey in all its facets now, and those challenges that actually come, the ones that you're not expecting, right? The ones that you're talking about with cancer. I had that happen in my life too. And so when those challenges come and you look at the opportunity of growth, right? To discover the next best version of you, to reinvent yourself, you start to elevate at a level where everything becomes possible. Now,
Yes.
please, I want to ask you, what is something about your family that you can share, which will allow us to get to know the Hogans a little bit better?
Sure. So we have a philosophy in our home, and it was cultivated literally from the time my children were extremely little. And we say you can be doing your best, but never being your best. When you're being your best, you'll always do your best. So people go, well, what's the difference? I say, well, there's a lot of doings. And oftentimes those doings are done from someone else's curriculum, someone else's sense of need, someone else's sense of pride, or someone else's even call to action. When you are being your best and now you're taking action, it's coming from a deeper place within you. It doesn't mean that there's not a requirement. You need to breathe. So you need to you need to breathe, you need to eat, you need to drink, you need to sleep, and we all require within the human condition love and connection. So why is this important? Well, when those fundamental needs aren't being met, you will find a whole different level of wants that start to creep into your psyche and into your being. So from the time my kids were little, we asked them, we said, hey, there's always going to be a challenge. So when you come to mommy and daddy, what if we actually looked at this a slightly different way? What if you get to think of some solutions? So instead of coming with a problem, i.e., turning your focus towards something you don't want to experience, what are the things you'd like to experience instead? What could be solutions to these? And I will tell you, it has diametrically changed the way that my children think and how we communicate. Although I will say it's not always perfect. Because in their
Welcome to life,
limited,
especially
right?
parenthood. That it's never perfect. I feel like yes, just the other day I was like, "There's no manual, right?" And I was like, "Man, I really thought I was figuring this stuff out." And then now here it is, like, all right, another growth spurt, and it's a very beautiful experience when we think about it. Where initially it's all about physical, like you're physically exhausted from having a little baby, all the way
Sure.
up to like as they keep growing and you need to have a mental stamina. You realize that when you tap into it, it's like there's so much more that you can do to grow. But at the essence of all of it, I think, is like this understanding as a family. What I will often say is having like this irreplaceable and authentic bond, and that's kind of centered around just gratitude, right? Accepting each other who as you guys are, alongside with like values that you live by. So what are some values you could say that you guys live by as a family?
Presence, authenticity, clear communication, patience. That is one that is such a profound value, and it's a virtue. Being able
Mhm.
to take a moment and slow down and appreciate where someone else might be coming from. So there's a concept of meeting people from where they're coming from or where they're at. And why? Because in this journey, no one is stopping to just shut everything down. What I find is that it's all lines of convergence. So they're on their path, you're on your path. And where you get to crisscross is when there are topics of conversation and life experiences that have these, I won't call them impacts, what I'll call them is coincidences. Because when we're resonating at the same frequencies, we actually attract people to us.
Yeah, like
So
destiny, right? Destiny would have it.
yeah, and you're manifesting as well. So when someone says, "Oh, they're a real lucky person," I go, "Well, they manifest their luck. They put themselves in positions where there's proximity and connection and understanding and clarity." I said that's a very different modality than guessing about something, than hoping. Hopium is a terrible drug. There's a lot of people who are hoping they're going to have an extraordinary life, and I go, "Okay, great. So, what are you scheduling into your world today?" Because hopium is more addictive than sugar. It really is. There are a lot of people who are just addicted to the term hope. I hope I get better. I hope I lose weight. I hope I make more money. I hope I'm successful. And it's like, wow. So, what's the next level? Believing as you achieve and faithing it as you're making it. But the step where they're living in hope, they haven't even got to the point where they're willing to face it as they make it. And in
Hmm.
fact, they're not even willing to go to the base level of that, Ambereen, which is faking it till they make it.
Oh yeah.
They're hoping. It's like someone goes, I hope I win the lotto. Did you buy a ticket? Nope. Are you hoping someone's going to give you one of those too? So there comes a point in time, to your point, where we need to be active participants in taking the action necessary, because shelf
Mhm.
help doesn't get you anywhere. Another book, another principle, another hyperbole, another option, it doesn't do anything for you. Taking action does.
Yeah, something that I think a lot of us high performers, who've worked with the leadership of Brendan Bouchard talk about is what it really means, to be bold. What does courage mean? How do you define courage? And what you realize is the definition is so different. Sometimes the courage could just be my kid did something that is so punishable, I want to react, you know, and then just reminding yourself, no, patience is what's needed right now. Let me hear them out. And you
Right.
find other stories so different, because we as parents sometimes don't trust our kids and our own upbringing. And I think, for me, when I work with a family and I work with parents, it's making them realize that the best version of you is literally like 3 months away.
Right.
90 days, give yourself 90 days as a couple, and take this journey with me. And you will realize what it is to have, you see clarity, you really understand how to generate energy, not just have it, but on the spot, be able to be like, yeah, I'm going to hop up and down. I'm going to generate my own energy, and we talk about this concept of like living presently and being more accountable. How do you manage your life, not just your time? And so I really think it's when you, like you said, you and your wife have worked really hard and there have been challenges that have come up, but realizing that family is so important and giving the best to them is key, right? Something that you, I think, do. Um, what is one of the biggest challenge, or what is one challenge that you are saying that you would say your family is facing right now, Chuck?
I would say clarity and growth.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a college graduate who, he's a biochemical uh, major with a comp sci minor. And then we have another one who's in college and one who's at home. And so there's this progression that starts to occur where as you're growing and Julie and I are spending more time together and traveling, experiencing the world, calling on clients, that it's more about finding the synergy and remaining curious about everyone's love languages. So if it's quality time, okay, what does that look like? If it's words of affirmation, what does that look like? If it's gifts or acts of
Mm-hmm.
random kindness, there's all these different modalities. And so one of the things that comes into play is understanding that in life, my dear friend, there's no such thing as balance. There is what we would call synergy and harmony. And life is looking to create a point of stasis where if you get pushed on one side of a sphere, it's not like it just bulges out on the opposite side. It dissipates and resonates throughout the entire sphere. So, another way of looking at this, and we started to realize that I'll use this just example in faith, family, fitness, and finance, in your universe, a rising tide raises all of these ships, which is great. But if you are having a challenge in one of them and they're all anchored together, because your existence isn't about one part of you, it's about all the facets of you. And conjoined together, that's what creates Ambereen. That's what creates Chuck. This can start to hinder the happiness, the fulfillment, the growth, and the appreciation that you've been experiencing in all these other areas of your life because of this one challenge. So people go, oh, so I'm supposed to myopically get focused on this one thing. I said, no, it's about finding the synergy and maintaining the rituals, to your point, moving up and down. Motion creates emotion. So if that's working out, eating healthy, if that's feeding your body, mind, and spirit for 30 minutes each day, 30 minutes of great content, 30 minutes of meditation, yoga, spirituality, prayer, if that's 30 minutes of moving your physical body. Out of 24 hours in a day, 90 minutes is uniquely yours. And here's what's brilliant about this: you will start to find that you start feeling your best because you're fueling you and meeting your needs at the highest level. So there's this dance that we do, and it has nothing to do with balance. Because if it was balance, like a teeter totter, I have to take away from something in order to get something else. And I said, that's not true. Happiness feeds the entire narrative in its entirety. Gratitude feeds everything. Harmony, synergy, the melody of life. And yet, at the end of the day, you can try and stay up all night, but will you feel better if you actually get a great rest in between? And this is where the universe crafted us in this likeness of understanding that there's a yin and a yang. And we have examples of this in nature. The day is not just 24 hours. And they go,
Mhm.
what? I said, well, the day is how many hours of sunlight and how many hours of nighttime? And they go, 12 and 12. And I said, not true. That's why there's a winter solstice and a summer solstice. So irrespective of, and the earth doesn't spin on a single axis straight up and down. It's tilted. And this actually creates this amazing synergy and harmony of movement, which we are part of this universe. We are part of this universal energy. So, as much as there's shifts and distinctions, it's as unique as you and I are to each other. And so
Yeah, because
that's
if we
why,
think about it, of all the billions that are living in the world in this moment for this to happen, right? Like I just launched my TV show, in February, and to be able to say that, I've spoken to Chuck, a few times since then. It's been really a great experience, and for that I've got I thank my producer. So shout out to producer for doing that. The comment that Chuck gave me after his show was, "Whoa, you're the real deal." And I said, "What does that mean, Chuck?" Like, and I had to journal on that to figure out what it actually meant.
well, and I'm glad that it sparked that self realization in you. So when I say you're the real deal, you embody your body, mind, and your spirit, your integrity in taking action. You put your energy and your motivations where your mind and your heart are. And I will remind all of your viewing audience that your mindset is based on your heart set. And this is a very important distinction.
Mhm.
Very rarely do you make a decision just from your head and feel it's the best decision for everyone. And there's a
Mhm.
scientific reason for this. If you were to talk to physicians, especially cardiologists, they're acutely aware of these very specialized cells in your heart called sensory neurites. And here's the amazing thing, my friend, you have about 30 to 40,000 of them. That's it. So out of the entire body, out of the, you know, hundreds of millions, if not billions of cells in your body, you have 30 to 40,000 of these. But they mimic the same molecular buildup of the cells of your brain.
Wow.
So, are we inferring that the heart is capable of intelligence? And I would say, absolutely. In fact, because they are so specialized, I would say that they're even more influential. So, when someone says their heart feels heavy, well, did your heart automatically gain weight? Like, is it an obese heart? Is it an oversized heart? You're like, oh, well, probably not. But your heart is heavy because you are feeling emotions that are triggering those sensory neurites. When we feel like we have a light heart, a full heart, an elevated heart, a lifted heart. So I say to you that regardless of the life conditions that are going around you, my friend, you're the real deal. You're living it, you're breathing it, you're being it, and you're engaged in it. That's real. So
Well,
kudos to
I
you.
do. I would say it's just that, right? Like, always leading with my heart. That's gotten me into a lot of trouble, a lot of heartaches. But I don't regret it for 1 minute.
Nope.
My parents have told me several times, why did you keep the marriage for so long? I've had very open conversations with people, and everybody was like, you should have like duked out first year, girl. And I knew that that experience was needed. And as he left us, what I discovered and realized was my purpose.
Mm.
And had it not been for that marriage, I wouldn't have been able to say, oh yeah, Burji has launched into the universe, because at 21 years of age she began to become caged, She got
Yes.
engaged, and then she began to lose herself. She got married, and then she had lost herself, only to have her kids rekindle the curiosity to say, "Who are you? Like, mom, what's your favorite thing to eat? Do you like sour? Do you like sweet?" And you're like, "Mama, what do you like to do for yourself?" And you have answers to the most no answers. Like, what's your favorite color? I didn't know my favorite color was chalk. I had lost all of me.
See?
And to come out and be like, "Whoa, it was worth it. It was worth it."
Hey,
It's
and
beautiful.
it's beautiful when you can experience this all the time. It's like it's not like, oh, I just had one breakthrough. It's like every day is a blessing. Every day is a
Mm-hmm.
lesson of learning. Every day is an opportunity. Every day is an option. And we choose to. So many people are stuck in I have to, not I get to. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you make it a choice, when you are cognitively engaged in yourself and you actually decide that this is how you need to feel most often, and people go, yeah, he keeps going back to this feeling thing. And it's very simple. In fact, I'll put it another way. It's so necessary.
What's one change you say you want to see in the world, Chuck?
Mm. Curiosity instead of criticism. There's
It's
such a
beautiful
high
you said
level.
that. Wow.
There's such a level right now of polarity, um, socioeconomically, politically, um, that it's a little frightening when you start to look at the modalities around what's happening in the world and what actually stands for happiness. It's it's a sad commentary. For some people, happiness is derived by other people's expense or pain. For others, it's all about their growth and their ability to be able to move forward and to have more. And my question is, why? Why is more better? And you'll hear people say, Ambereen, more is always better. I'm like, really? More pain is better? You just said more is better. More indiscretion, more judgment is better. More frivolity, where we're just frivolous, more hedonism, that's better. They go, well, does it make you happy? I said, maybe for a moment, but is it perpetuating? Is there consistency? See, I don't like breathing for 10 seconds. I like breathing for a lifetime. Hmm. Well, that seems kind of silly because if you're not breathing, you're what? I said, well, if you're not growing, you're dying. Universal
Mm.
causality. So, to your point, I would love to see more curiosity about culture, about life. Because last time I looked, love doesn't have a race, religion, creed, color.
Mm-hmm.
Happiness doesn't have any of those modalities attached to it. Pain doesn't have any of those modalities attached to it. So the human condition is that I've yet to meet a human being who didn't bleed red. And so why would we for a moment think that because the exterior is so different that the interior isn't the same? The
Mm-hmm.
last time I checked, I haven't met a physician that said, oh, when I cut someone open, they all look the same. And I go, yes, they do look the same, don't they? All the body parts. He goes, well, yeah, unless they have an anomaly and, like heart juxtaposition or something of that nature. He goes, but that's extremely rare. And I said, so when you practice medicine, you're not practicing on specific race, religion, creed, color. You're practicing on a human being.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're learning about. That's who you took a Hippocratic oath to serve. What if we all could learn the same way and we took a Hippocratic oath to just love another human being, irrespective of perception?
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think, one of the biggest things is being free of judgment. And I often think about it from a spiritual context. Is in the Quran, it does say that God is the only one who has the authority to judge, because we, from our human minds, are so limited. Because the limitless, the source has so much, right? So really being able to just understand that, I think, is so important. What there's something that we do here on our show every single time that we come here and do like an intentional wrap up. And these we call the rapid fire. So these are questions that are going to be from a word to a sentence max.
Okay.
All right, and then I'm sure that we can kind of go into another area and see how we want to conclude. So, all right, are you ready for the rapid fire, Chuck?
Hit me.
All right, what do you want to leave behind for the world?
More love.
How will you know you've led an intentional life?
I will be reminded by my children and my wife and the memory that I've left.
Okay, so being a dad, we love that, and alongside with being a husband, if you could create one law that everyone had to follow, what would that be?
Be nice.
Nice. Okay, what's the one lesson that you want to share with us that has made you who you are today?
I'm going to make it very short. There is no place for segregation anywhere in the universe. We're all the same.
Okay. All right, and what's the key to a healthy relationship, Chuck?
Communication, unadulterated
Mm.
truth in communication.
Wow. Okay. So that actually wraps it. But I do want to talk about a little bit about communication, as you're kind of ending on that note. Because for me, I think, family is the most important relationship in the world. And I think we don't get to choose our family, but our family chooses us.
Yes.
Every member is there. I look at it for my own self and my kids, my ex-husband, what he came to do and to teach, and then my own three kids. You realize that it's about like this grand plan. The skills that I had to learn with my marriage are now something I'm practicing with my kids because my kids have their father in them,
Yes.
you know. And so to be able to really say, like, I have to step into this with you, to be, literally like in the dungeons, climbing it out, understanding it. We had something like yesterday that happened. So as we talk about family and we talk about communication, let us share with us a few like fun moments
Mm.
that came about from communication, for your family.
Well, I'll remind everyone that words only have the meaning that you attach to them. And that when your children are young, they're learning what the definition of those words are. So one of my favorite things is that the the kids will put on like these crazy videos and from YouTube. So it'll be like crazy pets or people making jokes or different comedians. And what I've started to find is that laughter is a universal language. It is something that just changes the narrative around almost anything that you're experiencing. The most die-hard, serious person, when they are elevated to a place of laughter, because all these different emotions have different frequencies, and laughter is like right up at the top. Laughter is literally up there with like euphoric love and
Mm.
connection. And so what I've found is that, number one, and thank you for saying this about family, because oftentimes the person that we don't include in that metric is ourselves. And so it's important to remember that you are a member of the family.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
And so
I think as a parent, you have to say you're the leader of the family, right? I think that's the shift that you kind of have to have.
yes,
Um,
well,
to,
and I would say them understanding what type of leader you are.
mhm.
So
But
there are people
intentional
who,
leadership, yeah, that's what I
right,
think a parent should be. A parent should be an intentional leader, you know?
correct.
Yeah. And
And
that's not something that's often the case.
no, there's very much circumstantial leadership. There
Hmm.
is situational specific leadership. And what I would remind folks is that allowing yourself to be present and curious will change which leader shows up. Um, Leading with an iron fist and because I told you so methodology doesn't fly.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, with the intelligence quotient of most young kids in today's day and age, they question everything, most notably authority. So, what does being a leader of the family mean? Because when they understand that leadership is a responsibility and a gift, that we lead with love, that we lead with compassion, understanding, communication, guidance, connection, that's very different than I told you so because I told you so. My house, my rules. When you're of age, you can do what you want to do. And it's like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. We all have expectations. When you start to trade the expectation for appreciation, because I don't know about you, my friend, but there's always something else to do. There's always something else to tackle. There's always another level, another layer. It's like the perpetual onion. You're like going, well, I've already peeled this thing. And you're like going, oh, no, you just got to the outside of it. You have no idea. There's like a billion more layers. And here's the thing, if it's an onion that's still in the ground, it's continuing to grow. And it grows from the inside out. So you'll never be done peeling layers, ever, ever. And I'm like,
Mm.
awesome, as long as it's
Sign me up.
growing. Yeah, as long as it's growing, right? Because
Yeah.
that's the differentiator. But something that's dead has a finality to it.
And that's what I think is so beautiful. I launched a new program that I talked to you a little bit about with respect to adolescents group coaching. And so for anyone who is looking, right, for a community, which is a collaboration between peers, where we empower each other to, grow with confidence, to build greater study habits, to how to bring out the best version of themselves, then by all means, scan that QR code, hop on, answer a few questions, and you get to dive into a 30-minute session with me, which is just, driven towards coaching and
That's
understanding what it
beautiful.
is that your child needs. So it is true when the ground, with the onion still in the ground, that's when I want to capture the adolescents to say, now we get to, like we talked about, co-create as parents and as a coach, to say this is the value that I can add, when I start to live more intentionally into that. And so I think it's great that you shared that with us. If there was one change that you could see in the world, that you would want to see in the world, Chuck,
Excuse me.
what would that change be?
Hmm. Peace. There's When we're living in peace, we find so many things to be grateful for. And I find that the charge that we're seeing in the world, energetically, emotionally, spiritually, politically, racially, um, even in identification, it's the craziest thing. And people go, well, world peace sounds like such a cliche. And I said, I didn't say world peace. I just said peace. Peace within you, peace within me. It manifests from inside.
Mm-hmm.
And the more people that are living in a peaceful state, one of my mentors, Tony Robbins, calls it living in a beautiful state. That's wonderful because now your capacity goes up, the tension goes down, the stressors go down. This ease comes from living in stress. I go, well, that's what peace helps create. So
I
just
think that's
peace.
a beautiful way to kind of wrap up our show and to say thank you so very much, Chuck, for joining us today on Lead with Intentions. But more importantly, thank you to each and every single one of you who has tuned in thus far and joined our conversation. Hopefully now all of us know Chuck Hogan, the husband, the dad, a little bit better, because that's the direction I wanted to actually dive into today. And so thank you so very much for constantly showing up here every single week. It is something that I appreciate, and it is something that actually allows me to live a more intentional life, for those of us who are here in this very moment, present and together. um, so as the show's wrapping up, I would love to just say that this show can be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca. That is SPANGLISH dot world, WORLD.ca. For all the news and the programming, Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it. But most importantly, live into it with intentionality to better yourself.